So when you look back on your Vermont college hockey experience, I just want to ask, like, how did it help you as a professional athlete today and as an adult off the ice when you look back on it?
Uh, phew, I think from like I said, how Jim uh really pushed me. I think outside of my comfort zone and teaching me, de obviously defensive habits and how important it is. And I'm still learning that, even as a current player of the importance of doing the little things right. So I think that helped me get to the next level from college.
Now, I do want to ask you about some Olympic questions because it's not every day you get to talk to an Olympian. So, whenever I get the chance, I do want to ask some questions about that experience. So, first off, how did you find out you're going to South Korea? And where did you find out? I guess when did you get that announcement that you made the team?
Well, how our national team is set up on an Olympic year, we call it centralization. So players, I don't know how big our roster was. This is a wild guess, maybe 26 at the time, 26 players were brought in. Well, you first had to try out for that centralization roster, made that roster of X amount of players, and then we all moved to Tampa about 10 months or so. Again, wild guess, roughly in that time frame. And we trained there where you're being evaluated every day. And so even college players, they don't lose that college year, but they have to miss that college year and they get it back. Um, and that's why I think Caleb Barnes had two of
Twice.
those. Yeah, a couple
Yeah.
of them. Poulin was probably in there too, and a few others like Wisconsin girls. But so yeah, you're there. We train. It's kind of an extended tryout, and then they brought that roster down to our final roster. They brought us all into a room and told us we all made it. So it was absolutely surreal.
Yeah.
Um, Wild moment, but won't forget it.
What's like what's like how what was the Olympic experience, I guess, like both on and off the ice?
Felt like a dream. Um, it's uh it's a weird feeling to when you're a little kid and you dream and dream and dream of it happening one day, and then you find yourself looking out over the Olympic Village in your condo room, and you're just like, man, like, am I in like a bubble? Like, like, this is just crazy that this is really happening now. Um, so the only word I can think of is surreal, and obviously being surrounded by other athletes of, who are the best at what they do at their craft, and seeing how they carry themselves every day, seeing like what they eat, see how they interact with other people. And it's one of the coolest things in the world. And then let alone add all the other countries on top of it. And it's insane. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
Did you get to do
Mhm.
anything like go to any cool events when you were there?
Yeah, so I went to a couple of figure skating and we went to the mountain. I think after we were done, there was still like 4 or 5 days that we were still there until we started our media tour back towards home, and flew home. So during those 4 or 5 days, spent a lot of time with family at the USA house, which was at the mountain, and it's a basically like a ski lodge that they made that they decorated all USA, and any family and friends are welcome, and there's food and you can watch people compete. And so a lot of time was spent there. Um, it was just so cool. And it was so cool that my parents and my brother got to be there most of the time, 3 weeks to about a month. So
Yeah.
they got to experience the whole thing too.
Yeah, no, that's pretty cool. And obviously, I usually just watch the hockey for the Olympics. I don't, but I do like the bobsledding and snowboarding. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then I think from the figure skating perspective, all I remember is Gracie Gold. She was like the big figure skater for Team USA that year. So, but that's the only things I remember from that Olympics outside of your team winning the gold medal, obviously.
And it was actually a cool experience too with the men's team that was there that they brought in because there were no NHL guys. So it was kind of like the feeling of miracle again, you know.
I want the
They
NHL guys
were
back, though. I will say that it makes it so
yeah,
much better with them there, if I'm being
yeah, I
honest.
know. I know. But it was so yeah, it was cool to see how they took the experience under their belt and had fun with it, and they were a fun group of guys that we got to hang around too. So
Now,
cool.
obviously, you guys won the gold medal. What emotions were you going through when Lamoureux got that shootout winner? And just talk about just what was some of the cool stuff you got to do after winning the gold medal?
Yeah, the crazy thing about that whole game and like the preparation for that game, everyone's like, well, how do you prepare for a gold medal game? And you know, the title of it is so intense and but we did a lot of mental skill stuff with our sports psychologist during our whole time there in preparation for that moment. Obviously, for the games leading up to it, one by one. And then I feel like the preparation that we did mentally just didn't make the game bigger than it really was. And I think all of us went into the game like without any hesitation, without any doubt. Even when it became a shootout, it was only, I think it was like maybe like 3 minutes or so left. And you're just like, oh my God, like we're down a goal. But there was no like no one was freaking out. It was calm. It was like the coolest. That was probably the coolest moment is seeing how we handled that situation. Um, and then obviously tying up overtime. Overtime, I feel like we dominated. So the feels were good. And then as soon as we knew we were going to a shootout, I think the players that were shooting knew exactly what they're doing
Yeah,
months before if they ever got the opportunity. And I mean, Maddie with awesome saves, and I think we had Kessel score, Gigi score. Um, but yeah, Jocelyn's was just so nice.
I think
So
she's one of the most underrated women's hockey players of all time. Like whenever people think of USA hockey legends, obviously people think of Hillary Knight, but
yeah,
Lamoureux was probably the most clutch player I remember, and she had one of the she had probably the best hands. Like she just made
yeah.
defenders look so silly. It was so much fun to watch.
I mean,
I really
her,
miss her on the team.
yeah, her and Mo, I just like the pair are just dominant. Like
Hmm.
they could have played till they were 40. Like
Yeah,
and I literally no exaggeration. Like there's players that unfortunately leave the game too early, you know, whether that be for family or obviously it's financially, so, you know, figuring all that out. And I mean, they're definitely two of the players that, and then you have Decker just retiring. Like,
yeah,
you know, the people that you see retire, it's also an exciting moment for them as well that they are retiring and like entering the next chapter of their life. But those are players that could have dominated the sport for another 5 to 10 years. Like, no
yeah,
joke. Casey Bellamy, Megan Duggan, like they could still be playing and they would still be the top player in the game. So,
yeah.
without a doubt.
I'm just
Yeah.
upset that Decker ended her career with that awful injury. I wish she had a one game least to
Yeah.
go out on a better note.
I agree. I
So,
know. That was tough.
like
She's a tough person though. She's, you know, she's I think the decision that she made, I'm sure she thought about it for a long time and she's gonna do great things.
my favorite Brianna Decker moment isn't a goal. It was in that gold medal game actually, and she gets absolutely rocked by Poulin. Like I think in
Oh
the
yeah, when
early
it wasn't
third
a
period.
penalty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
like obviously they say hitting isn't allowed in women's hockey, but I think if you show that clip, that's probably the hardest check I've seen.
It was so bad.
And
And she
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 just
just
got up
comes,
and she like
yeah.
played a great game
Well, it's
after,
a
and
gentleman.
that's
Like
yeah,
you could tomahawk her with your stick over her head in that moment of one of the biggest games of her career, and she won't flinch. It's just,
hmm
or she is like laser focused. And I remember when she came onto the bench and she had her nose. She was my roommate during the
yeah,
Olympics too, so it was a fun time. But she had her nose and like right here was just completely split open, and you could already see the black eyes that were coming, and
yeah.
she wasn't even phased. Wasn't even phased. And then, as you can imagine, after we won, she definitely wasn't phased, and wasn't phased for about 2 weeks after. Um, yeah,
I
Yeah,
just think
she's a
it's
champ.
I have so much respect for someone that could take those hits and then come back up and still like be
Yeah.
super competitive because I know
She was on a mission though.
there's a lot of
She was
guys
on a
that would take
mission.
that hit and would probably leave the game. At least players that I played with, not obviously
Yeah.
professional athletes, but that's why I was like,
Yeah.
oh, Decker's like that's awesome. Like that just made me like such a huge fan of her.
Yeah, she's one of the most competitive people I know. That's for sure. And with herself, like she's
Yeah.
competitive with herself and um she had obviously been on the national team for many years and lost in 2014 and you know what I mean? So
Mhm.
she was playing with a chip on her shoulder, so that was the least of her worries was a split open head. So
I do want to ask you about Hillary Knight. Obviously,
hmm.
probably the most well-known women's hockey player. What's she like off the ice, I guess? Because everyone sees the talent that she has on the ice, but
Yeah,
off the ice, is she like just like a normal person?
she's yes, she is a human. She is a normal person. She's very chill person to be around. And definitely a leader that, when she speaks, she's not, super, super vocal where she's yelling. So she's confident leader, leads by example. And yeah, she's just obviously a tremendous player. But yeah, she is human and,
I love her
yeah,
style. I
very,
think
very
it's
chill. Yeah, she's always had since I've known her, a really cool off ice style. I feel like she kind of like started that trend, I guess, of
yeah.
like bringing that into our game. And yeah, she's another goat in our game for sure.
Yeah, I think she's the best U.S. women's hockey player of all time. I know people will say like Cammy Granado, but I never saw Cammy Granado play, so it's hard for me to like
Yeah,
sort of give like opinion on that. But Hillary Knight, just like the shot, like just how good she was on the ice, but then
she's
off the
the she's
ice,
the
it's
yeah
like
she's the
incredible.
she's the queen of the half clapper. I like to call it. It's like
Yeah.
a mixture of a slap shot and a snapshot. And you know that if she's given the puck in a shooting slot, there's times with the world championships, like in overtime, I think it was 2017, you knew that if she was going to get the puck in front of the net, it was going to go in. That she just has that touch.
And I remember when she was in the All-Star game and she was outperforming some of those NHL guys, which I thought was pretty cool as well,
Yeah.
especially in the
There was a group of
accuracy
them that
competition.
year.
Yeah, I think it was
Hmm.
her and Decker that year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So, where do you keep the gold medal today?
It's currently in just a bookcase in my living room. Prior to
Nice.
that, it was in a sock drawer, which I think a lot of us do that. Because there's a lot of times that you use it for events and whatnot, and the last thing you want to do is lock it up forever you know. So the most exciting part is when people can see it and experience it. And I also completely forgot to tell you, you like asked what we did after the Olympics and the cool stuff we got to do, and I skipped that part.
It's
So
all
I
good.
apologize.
Jimmy Fallon, I remember that. I don't know if
Yeah, Jimmy Fallon, Ellen. I was so sick though. I remember for like our whole media tour, like just strep and ear infection, I think.
oh, that's
So
tough.
I was just
Luckily, you didn't have to do
zombieing
much
through the
that
whole thing.
I just luckily didn't have to do most of the talking. That was mostly
No.
Hillary and Megan.
Yeah. No, yeah, not me. Select few for that, for sure.
Yeah, but it's still cool nonetheless to be on that show. But I do want to ask you just one more question: is what should be done to help grow women's hockey from your perspective? Um, in my opinion, I think it's
What should be
obvious.
done?
Yeah, I think my opinion is to get a full league with both the PWHPA players and PHF players, which I know is still a work in
Please.
process, but that's the
Yeah,
main goal.
please.
But I guess from a
I
college
know
hockey
that's
perspective, I think it'd be cool
yeah,
to have just like more televised games and have the season
for
start
sure.
later, have the own
Yep.
weekend for the women's Frozen Four, and obviously, I think having more non-conference games as well, and obviously making that
Yes.
talent pool grow, so more competitive games happen. So it isn't just like two
Mm-hmm.
teams competing. It's like all 11 teams have a chance to win, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So that's my opinion for the college hockey perspective. But the
I
pro game,
echo
it's
that.
really it's really
I echo
just
that.
combining the both leagues, which I know is still a work in progress, but hopefully that
Yeah,
happens soon.
I hope so as well. I think a lot of people would like to see that happen. And again, it's, when I first started in the NWHL, there was a CWHL. So there's always been two leagues. And I think our game would just explode if
Oh
it was
yeah.
just one. Because I do think there has been a lot of traction of both leagues doing their part and trying to do the right thing to get our game to the next level. And obviously the incentives and this, the structure that our league has now and the financials that each player are given as well. I mean, it's there. It's like we're knocking on the door.
Just
So
how cool would it be to have
yeah.
Sarah Nurse and Hillary Knight on the same team going against Poulin and I guess name another player. Like you could market that and that would be super fun to watch. And
Yeah,
I
I mean
think
the
also
list
from a
is
college
endless.
hockey, like every women's college hockey player either goes to Europe, PHF,
Yeah.
or PWHPA. So you're basically diluting that talent pool. But if you
Hmm.
have one league, all the talented players just know where to go after they play college. And it just makes
Yeah,
the
and
league
I
better.
think like another thing to note as well is those European leagues have been around for a while. And it's not like they're paying these players a ton of money, but they're making the experience fun and enjoyable where people want to go back. And I think a big step that our league has taken this year is, and it probably is because there's more money given to players and contracts are bigger, but we pulled a lot of some of the top Europeans in our league. And I think that is where you have PW, where it's just US, Canada, and there are so many good players that come from the European teams. And there's still some that are playing over there, but luckily we have those players in our league. And I think they've done a really good job showcasing themselves this year. And, as much as I was a Team USA person, I truly don't think the league is when there is one league, I don't think it's going to take off unless we have those European players here as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, and that's when the league is going to be perfect.
Yeah, the best player in Hockey East is Alina Mueller from Switzerland. So that just shows you that
Yep.
it's not just Team Canada and Team USA all the time.
Yep.
Top player from UVM is from Austria, Teresa
Yeah, she's
Skasfall.
so good.
So I think that just it's good to see the game growing in different countries.
Hmm.
And
Yep.
then, like I said, for the college hockey, it's really like I don't like how the season starts in September and ends in the middle of March. I think it makes zero sense. Start in October with the men's game and then end it like the first weekend of April. ESPN could do something where they have the women's
Hmm.
semifinals, frozen for the Frozen Four that Thursday when there's nothing going on, and then do it that Sunday afternoon right before the women's basketball championship. I think you can market that. You could put that in your main channels,
Hmm.
and people at least scroll through it and like watch 15 minutes. And I think that makes a
Yeah, and
big
you see
difference
it. Yeah, yeah,
to grow
for
fans.
sure.
And I understand, like, I feel like there's just not a
Five
lot of,
seconds of exposure is a lot, It's
I just feel like
crazy.
there's not a lot of creativity. I feel like a lot of people, at least in college hockey, just continue to do the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
Just do you have any shouts you want to give to any of your former teammates, family members, friends? Give them a
Mm.
shout out. I feel like they'll love to hear that.
I'm just going to shout it out to the whole UVM women's team, the whole program. I think they're doing things the right way, and more good years are on their way. So hold your heads high.
Anyone who we should interview next from Team USA or Vermont or the Riveters?
Ooh,
It could be all three.
yeah. Well, I got definitely reach out to the head coach um, of our program, UVM. Reach out to Teresa for sure.
I heard she's
I
very
think
hard to contact from what I was told.
really.
Because
Why is that? I don't think she has a lot of social media.
I asked
That's
one of
why.
the players, I'm like, which teammate takes the longest to respond to your text message? And she said Teresa Skasfall. And then I had another UVM player on a few months ago, and she said the same thing. So I feel like that
Which UVM girls have you had on already?
I had Lara Beecher on this past December.
Mm-hmm.
She just won hockey's Rookie of the Year, which was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then I
Mm-hmm.
had Cam Morrissey a couple years ago, who
Yeah.
who's a really underrated player. I love her story,
Yeah.
and she has the best style in women's college hockey, arguably as well.
I think she's up there. I
Yeah,
agree. I agree. I think it's um I think it's just a testament to the type of player that Teresa is because sometimes, most of the time when a player is hard to reach, they don't have social media, their focus is elsewhere.
yeah.
And so it's probably a good thing. I think you're probably going to see more of her after college. So
Hmm.
hopefully she's on my team.
Yeah,
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try, but yeah, it's exciting for those players that now they have opportunities.
yeah, for
So
sure. And then Team USA.
uh Keller's always a good one. Always got a cool story. Keller and Kessel, they have their own podcast show now.
Yeah,
So they're
invite me on. I know I won't not the most. I know I never played, but I feel like I got some good stories. I feel like that'll be a fun
yeah,
third member, someone who didn't
reach
play, the
out.
fan. See what happens.
Reach out. Yeah.
But no, thank you so much, Amanda, though, for coming on. I really appreciate you coming on and having this conversation with you today. I had a lot of fun, and best of luck
Cool.
for your hockey endeavors and obviously future endeavors as well. I know even after you're not playing, I know you're going to do some other cool stuff in the game, which I'm excited to see. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm definitely going to reach out to the players you mentioned as well and see what can happen.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt. Right.
So one
All
question
right. You have a good night. Yeah.